introducing you to him this evening. We're going to learn a lot. Tonight, T stands for transformation. And we're going to talk about what transformational change is. And I'm just curious, have you ever asked yourself, what is my purpose? What is the mission that I have in this life? Did you ever say to yourself, well, I'd like to be able to leave a mark in this world, a positive mark, and be remembered for something? Well, these are the things that we're going to be talking about this evening. I want to tell you a little bit about Dr. Bob Choate. I've known him for a few years. He is the transformational grand master, and I've learned a whole lot from him. He has a couple Facebook groups as well. The Wisdom Cafe, where they teach us some wisdom, and the laughter mindset, which is a really important factor about having a good, balanced, happy day. Humor is very good for us. As a matter of fact, it's healing too as well. So as I had mentioned, this is going to be a thought-provoking broadcast this evening. Stay tuned with us. You can leave some comments if you want. If you're happening to be watching on Facebook or YouTube, leave us comments, questions. If you've got a question for Bob, put it in the comments and we'll try and get to those comments as well. So Dr. Bob is the host of the School of Transformation podcast, and he's been on TV, he's been on radio. He has a long list of certifications as well. He is the co-founder of the Laughter Mindset, along with Dr. Sophie Nubani, and you may remember her from being on a previous show, I believe, just like last week, as I recall. So Bob is a Marine veteran. He was also an LAPD officer. He's an accomplished martial artist, as well as a 5th degree black belt in, he has Kempo and a senior instructor in Keet Kun Do. I don't know if I said that right or not, but we'll let him explain it. Like I said, he's got a lot of certifications. I've learned a lot from knowing Bob, and without further ado, let's bring Bob into the studio. Good evening, Dr. Bob.
Good evening, Steve. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing well. I'm so glad that you're here with us. Thank you for coming this evening and sharing some wisdom with us this evening is what I'm hoping to do, and help people be able to identify maybe what their purpose is, or give them some clues to how to continue to be successful in leaving a positive mark here in this lifetime.
You mentioned about all the certifications and the trainings and everything I've been through. One of the things regarding going through trainings and getting certified and this and that, and you mentioned about purpose.
Yes.
I suggest to people to find their purpose first. What is it that they really want to do? Have their own personal mission in a sense, and then go on that journey. If it entails learning new things, including going through courses and certifications to help you understand, so it will enhance that journey toward your purpose, then do it. Just don't go and get certified or anything like that just to have certifications. In fact, I have none of my certifications hanging up. I have this picture back here of Coach Wooden, and Coach Wooden is basically an anchor for me to remind me to be that coach, to help others to grow, to become their best possible self, including people that I surround myself with in my immediate circle. And that's really important. So I've gone through a lot of schooling and college degrees and so forth. Again, don't just go just to have those kind of things. Go if it fits with your personal mission and your purpose. And yeah, again, I have a folder or everything, all my certifications are put into a box. I don't need those hanging out, but it's cool for me to learn. I'm a constant learner, and I will always believe in learning.
Well, let me just read some of these, and you can clarify for us. A PhD in psychology, running a marketing and advertising firm. What else do we have here? Executive peak performance coach, and I hope that you'll be talking to us about that as well. Certified with hypnosis. Neurological, what? hypnotherapy, right? And so, yes, we're looking forward to finding out about these things that we can use to uh, find our mission or find our purpose. What is our purpose, and how we can make a positive transformational change. And so that's what we're going to be talking about this evening, folks. Now, if you're watching on Facebook, please share this video out to your friends in the groups that you belong to. Share it if you're watching on YouTube as well. You can also watch us on smart TV. We're on Roku. We're on Apple. We're on Amazon Fire, Android TV. Download the E360 TV app and you can watch us on your TV. Now, Bob, why don't you explain to the viewers that might not be familiar with transformational change, what is transformational change?
So typically transformational change is something that you would hear with an organization. So an organization that is going through a change, basically in terms of the organizations, it's going from a process or belief and then shifting that, including changing the culture. And we've seen this with some organizations, and some organizations, others tend to become very rigid so that they're hard to change. Well, within individuals, it's the same thing. We go from a belief system that we grew up with, maybe, or even series of belief systems, but it's a big shift, and we do it typically with what's called an aha moment. So we may not see it, then all of a sudden, boom, it clicks. And then we may go on that journey. I mentioned earlier about going on a journey in a personal mission. We may go on a journey and we may discover a mentor. So Joseph Campbell, he talks about the hero's journey. And going on that journey, we may come across that mentor, or as we see in a lot of movies, the wizard, or we see in the Star Wars, it may be Yoda or somebody like that. So we come across, we end up gaining a mentor along that journey, and we may have educational processes and everything. So we go through, in a sense, a journey of self-discovery as we're going through the change. Then we come around, we go through challenges, because without challenges that's in our way, we're not going to be able to transform. We're not going to have that transformational change. So through those challenges, and including falling on our face, so we may go and do something and we're going to fall. If it's easy, if it's really easy for you to do, you're not going to have a transformational change. So challenge yourself, step outside. And I'm not telling you to step a huge out, but even if you just go a little bit outside, because within that box, people call that, going outside a box. Within that box, you need to understand yourself, where you're at. And
so it is about it's about facing maybe your fears.
Facing your fears. Yes. So
those challenges, those things that make us say, hey, look, I really would rather not do that. But then when we challenge ourselves, that's where you're saying that we're going to see some growth as a result of that.
Correct. You may be that knight that's facing the fire-breathing dragon, right? And that fire-breathing dragon is going to come down onto you and start attacking you. That's your challenge. How do you defeat the dragon? And it may be that you may destroy the dragon, make a friend of the dragon. Doesn't really matter. But how are you going to challenge that and then come forth on the aftermath? And as you're going through that, and then you have reflection through those challenges. What was this really about? What did I learn from this? And then as you come towards the end of the journey, you come back, and now, in essence, you can teach what you learn. You grow from that, and you become, in essence, a whole new person versus from where you started. In my own case, I've been through a lot of different challenges. I think I'm going to use one of my own stories, and other people who have gone into the military can concur with this. So when I first joined the Marines and ended up signing the papers and everything, and as I moved forward, getting ready to go to boot camp, that was part of that stepping out into the unknown. Even though I've watched some films and everything, and even movies that related to that. So stepping into the unknown, as we stepped onto the bus, going to MCRD, and in my case, it was MCRD San Diego. I know there all the PI Marines will say, "Oh yeah, you guys had it easy," and then we say the opposite. You know, we had to dodge jets and stuff like that, flying onto the airfield because it was right next to the San Diego airport there. So as we got on the bus, going down, going through the gates, coming into the gates, and as clear as I can remember, and as it drove up, we all of a sudden the doors open, and these drill instructors came in. They weren't our initial drill instructors that was assigned. These are just the ones that would meet the what we call privates, because these are new recruits coming onto the bus, and they start yelling and tell us to get off, and we'd have to rush out. There was these yellow footprints that were all lined up. We would have to find a yellow footprint, stand on the yellow footprint, and continue this whole yelling thing. And it was interesting because we were all like, everybody looked different. You know, some people had long hair, some people had short hair, tall, short, different races and different clothing, everything. So there was this whole mixture. And as we got through into that, that was part of that scary, you know, going through and dealing with that. So as we got processed, and we had, in essence, we had a new identity from where we were as civilians to now being processed and having our head shaved. Now I'm bald right now, so it would be a nothing. But when you have some hair, you have it all shaved off, and they do it really fast in like 30 seconds or something. My best recollection.
Buzz cut.
Yeah, like that, really fast. And next, right? Yeah. So going through that challenge, big challenge, and then meeting our drill instructors for the first time was part of that. They were kind of like our guides from the civilian world, and then going through the transformation, being molded through each phase. It was the first phase, and then there was second phase, and then there was third phase. Each phase, we grew, and we got challenged through each one till we finally came down to the third phase, and then coming out at the very end and earning our what's called the Eagle Globe and Anchor, earning that and being able to be called a Marine for the first time, because we were only recruits. But until we got that Eagle Globe and Anchor on graduation day, only then could we be called a Marine. So we earned it. And then that was part of that transformation, going through that. Yes, there was more transformations through more training and more schooling and dealing with a lot of things that you would typically go through. And I challenged myself through there. And it was the same way when I went through the LAPD Academy, going to that same thing, 6 months of training and coming out and getting that shield as a Los Angeles police officer. And so again, it's the same kind of transformation. And that's just an example that we all will go through transformations through our life as we grow. It's a never-ending process. We go through changes. We go through changes as we age. It's how we deal with it, how we face any kind of adversity as we're going through each step. And I know in your case, Steve, you went through your own adversity, your own transformations to get to where you're at now.
Right. Yes.
And where you were, like, let's say, like 5 years ago, was in a much different spot than here you are, having your own show, interviewing all these different experts and and doing everything that you're doing has been part of your own journey. So you've gone through the transformational change. You understand that, don't you?
I do understand that. It's amazing kind of the way that worked it, because I had been asked a couple of years ago, as you'll recall, to write that book. And what was the book? Transformational Change. And it's like, oh wow, okay. So then it really made me had to look at myself and to learn and to grow and to face some things that were pretty painful, and difficult. And so it was an awakening. It was looking at myself, then applying uh, things like surrounding myself with people like yourself that are experts, that know how to help people and can help them through it, and just working very hard at it. It's not the easy thing. You said that earlier. This is not the easy job. You have to challenge yourself. Now, I also right now I want to thank you. I mean, I'm so grateful for the service that you have given to this country, not only as a Marine, but as an LAPD too. Thank you so very much. We appreciate that fact, that you are right there. You've been helping people. That's what you are, is community minded. And of course, that's what this show is about as well. People that are making a positive impact in community, which you have done a great job at. Now, we've got a video. Randy, can you bring up a video? I'd like to show you some video, viewers. Just sit back for a second here. Watch this video. Hopefully,
To do with this king. This king had this amazing garden. Yet one day he went out into the garden. He saw that it was dying, and he said,
seems like I'm having technical difficulties this evening on the stream. I've been
That's
working
fine.
on it all afternoon to try and get it straightened out, but apparently it's not straightened out.
Well, things.
We've got one up, huh? We got
Hey.
another one here. We'll put that up. It's just a short one. This is a powerful statement, and that's what I wanted to show everybody as well.
Yes.
Okay.
I love this
Technical.
by Sean Aker.
Now, those were. Tell us about those. Tell us about that, because clearly the video didn't do it any justice.
Yeah, that's fine. So one of the things that I really believe in, and that is a really, really good quote, is to help people to, in essence, find their own light. So if you think about it this way, if you look out into the heavens and you may see a single star or a single galaxy, and it's so far away you don't even notice it. But all of a sudden you may see a cluster of stars. And you may not notice maybe just a single star, but you may notice that whole cluster, but you notice it all. And it's so bright up there. And we see this with as we look at some of the most amazing galaxies up there and all these different clusters. So what that quote represents is that when we help people and those around us to find their own brightness, their own star, they start shining. And when they're around you, you're going to shine along with them. So in essence, it becomes not about me, but about we. Sophie talks about this all the time. And it's really, really, really important for us to grow by helping others to grow as well. And that includes, like with me, when I coach people, I'm going to challenge them to become their best. And I really don't care if I'm the star or not. In fact, a single star on a team or around will never bring success for the team. Again, Coach Wooden represents that. his UCLA basketball teams continued to win, to dominate during his time as a coach, not because it was a star program. No, the team was a star. Right. Everybody got to shine. And again, that is very powerful. So like when I help others, like I want to help Sophie to become her best self. And like with you, Stephen, I want to see you shine. And I'm glad, and I'm so loving it to see you shine. Oh God, it's so great. So when I see other people around me grow and shine, number one, that helps me. Oh my God, my heart just grows from all that. And
I'm glad you said that, because that's what I feel too as well. When we help other people, we get help too as a result of that. I mean, there's just an internal feeling that you get. It's like it feels so good to help somebody else and to give of yourself. So it is a two-way street. Not only does the other person gain, but we do as well. Thanks for pointing that out, Dr. Bob.
You're welcome. I used to have a thinking process where I wanted to be the one to help others, like jump in. I wanted to be like Superman. And I just wanted to step in. And I grew up watching the Amazing Adventures of Superman, or the Adventures of Superman, where George Reeves was a star. And so he played Superman. This is back in the 1950s. And so I wanted to be like George Reeves in terms of that Superman. And I tried everything. I tried like jumping off of chairs that didn't work, jumping off of tables that didn't work. I couldn't fly.
Right.
Yeah. And so I was trying all kinds of different things. And then I remember watching a Bugs Bunny cartoon, the Super Bugs, where he ate a super powered carrot, where he was able to fly and defeat the bad guys until he lost his carrot and the bad guys got it and they became super powered. And so Bug says, I'm going to become a real hero. So he exited and came back in Marine Corps dress blues. So he became a Marine. Now this is during World War II, so during that time period. So I thought that was the thing. I could still be kind of like a superhero by going to the Marines and going in a recon and force recon. I thought that was the way. And then the LAPD was the same way. I was more of trying to either rescue people or trying to be there at that point in time. When I started teaching women's self-defense in the 1980s, and there was something that I learned. It wasn't about me trying to rescue the woman, even though I can still do that even to this day, or rescue anybody else, unless I'm really needed and they, you know, when that time is there and when I can jump in, because I've done that several times. No, it was about me being able to teach them how they can help themselves to grow, whether they're being attacked or anything. So I was teaching the physical attributes, but I realized something.
What was that?
The way they thought about themselves. Until unless they was able to grow and have an understanding that they have the power within them to be able to either stop an attacker, to avoid situations, not to have that kind of fear. Even if they have that fear, they use it for their power, for their strength to be able to move forward. Until they realize that no amount of techniques in self-defense or martial arts or any kind of fight is going to help them. Once they switched on their right mindset, and I call it the mindset of a warrior, and one of the things I use with them is to think like a Wolverine, because a Wolverine, the animal, the Wolverine, pound for pound, is one of the fiercest animals. And I can guarantee you that I don't care how powerful you are, you would not want to get into a tango with a 40-pound Wolverine. You just don't want to do that, because they eat badgers. That's one of the things. They hunt down badgers and eat badgers. So, I
just wanted to ask you, as a veteran, and as an LAPD officer, and your love for the martial arts, You know, what
What?
drew you to the martial arts? Clearly, you've explained that you love to teach other people how they can defend themselves. Is that what the driving force was, just to become a master there in black belt with self-defense?
So was it to become a black belt? No, that wasn't it. It was to become a warrior.
Warrior.
When I started, my mother was my first martial arts teacher. I'm half Japanese. So she learned kendo from her older brothers. My uncle Keiji, who's still alive and he still practices kendo and judo. So both her older brothers were part of the original Kodokan in Japan. They had trained with the founder of judo, Chikiro Kano, and some of the masters there. And they trained in some of the ancient samurai techniques or martial arts, only because of my family history, because they were considered an upper family in Japan. So they studied that. They were sent there. They started at age 5 and started studying. I started 18 months with the stick and was that. And then I started my formal martial arts training in karate when I lived in Okinawa at age 5 to age 8. Then I trained with Uncle Keiji in both kendo and judo, and then other martial arts. So in the original martial arts, before judo, there was no belt system. There was no black belts or that kind of stuff. When I started karate in Okinawa, they had white belt, green belt, brown belt, black belt. Now we see multiple belts. We see multiple stripes on some of the lower belts. I see white belts with multiple stripes, and then yellow belt with multiple stripes, and all these kind of things. Orange belt and blue belt. I know I can't even count all the different belt systems because it's just much different than when I studied years ago. So it wasn't about getting a black belt, but it was about mastery. That's the key, mastery. When you can master yourself, when you can master what you're learning in a martial arts. So you don't move forward until you master the level that you're at, which is one of the things I don't see a lot in today's martial arts, is that aspect of mastery. Both self-mastery is one of the things I was taught, and then the skill mastery. I remember my mom was just teaching me how to just swing, like stick up and down, up and down, up and down, over and over and over and over again. And when I studied Goju in Okinawa, it was just about just throwing a punch, throwing a punch, throwing a punch like this. And then I had a board that I would hit over and over and over and over. So it was a Makirawa board. It's basically had a flex like this, and it was wrapped around with like a tight rope. Then I would have to strike it with my fist over and over and over again. I had to master the punch, and I was doing this as a kid till my knuckles bled, but it was over and over and over again. So self-mastery is a very important, and you want to master those skill sets. You want to master yourself, your body before you move on. So in the belt systems that we see now, it's not about trying to become a black belt, but it's trying to master what you're learning at the foundational stuff.
This is where consistency and practice and routine come in, right? And then,
correct.
And that can be applied to really anything, I believe, correct?
Correct. In the old days, so when we think about our educational system, because education today is not built on mastering anything. It's not. It's about moving through grades, through all these different letter grades. In the old days, in our educational system, we would have what was called the Master Apprentice Program. So somebody who wanted to, let's say, be a carpenter, they would come in and they would have to prove themselves that they really wanted to become a carpenter. So they would be paired up with what's called a master carpenter. And this master carpenter will teach them the basic skills of carpentry. Until they mastered those basic skills, they couldn't move up to the next level. So as an apprentice, they were constantly moving up, and that may have taken years before they could ever get to a journeyman. And to get to become a master level, you're talking decades to get to that level. So it's mastering the foundation. And in today's world, we see it in the arts. So you want to master those areas, whether becoming a fine artist or a musician or anything like that. You always master the foundation, because without a good foundation, you're not going to be able to build upon that to become skilled at what you do. And by the way, when we're going through a transformation, it's the same thing. So as we're going through that transformation, we want to now develop the skill set and master the basic levels to be able to meet the challenge. Again, when I was in the Marines, we would prepare for a mission. We would train 3 times as hard for that mission over and over and over and over again till our mind, our body, our skill set, and being able to stay focused on that mission becomes so ingrained in us. When we go on a mission, it becomes much easier. Will we face challenges that we didn't expect? Sure. But we're so ingrained in the foundation that we learn that we can improvise when necessary. We can overcome and just move through any of those challenges. And
right. So you're trying to anticipate other things that might come to as well, so that you can then respond, not necessarily react.
Correct.
Whatever might come your way. Now, if a person was trying to make some positive transformational change in their life, and they're trying to define their mission and their purpose in life, what are some of the basic steps that you would recommend to somebody that is trying to find, well, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing? What would you recommend to those people?
Yeah, I would, number one, look at what you're already good at. Look at what you've already done in terms of your own life. And I know that a lot of people say follow your passion, and that's well and good. Well, I'm going to say, look at what you're already good at, what you've been going, because a lot of people don't realize that they already have a foundation on something that they've been doing a long time. It may not be the job that they're in, but it could be a hobby or something like that they enjoy partaking in. And that could be the catalyst of moving towards your own purpose. Now, when I say purpose, it's more of like getting up. So what is it that gets you out of bed, in a sense? When you think about that one thing that gets you moving, that gets you saying, oh my God, this is, I really, really just enjoy doing this. Now, this is different than passion, because passion can fade away. But having that sense of purpose, this is what drives me. And now that becomes a catalyst for you for developing a mission based on that purpose. So a mission can be as even like Star Trek, the original series, they talk about going on a 5-year mission to explore strange new places and new civilizations and so forth. When we have our own personal mission, and so when you think about your mission, I want you to develop what's called a personal mission statement, like what I just mentioned with the Star Trek episode. And as we're moving towards our mission, so like in a Marine Corps, we would have missions that we would develop a strategy to go after. So let's say that you have a purpose and a mission of I'm going to see if I can give a good example. So let's say that you want to make a difference in a lives of homeless people. And I know Steve is going to be asking me this regarding some homeless people. Let's say you want to make a difference in their lives, and your mission is to secure not only places where they can live, but educational opportunities, helping them to overcome the challenges that they face so they can take even what they know. And by the way, I've met homeless people out there that have amazing backgrounds, which I've met former attorneys, executives, I've met actors and so forth here in Los Angeles and also in Las Vegas. And so they have a foundational skill set that they don't need to relearn, but they need to find their own purpose again. They need to find, what was the challenges that they've gone through. So let's say your mission is to help them to move forward in terms of that. So you develop a program. So my mission is to go out there and help them to maybe rediscover themselves or discover that person they were always meant to be, so they can get past the challenges that they face, whether it's the addictions that they have or otherwise, mental health issues and so forth.
I mean, the situation, particularly COVID, has put tons of people and probably back onto the street. I mean, we don't hear about that, but so many people have lost their jobs. They can't pay their rent. They became homeless. They could be doctors, lawyers, also it does not discriminate. I know that. And that brings me to wanting to ask a question. Now, I remember you told me a story. It was a dynamic story about a gentleman that you had met in LA that was homeless many years ago, and how that morphed. That's a great story. You recall what I'm referring to, that particular story? I think he was he ended up being an actor or something like that.
Yes. So it's interesting. I met him actually here in Granada Hills, California, which is part of the city of Los Angeles. And I thought I recognized him, and it was like, okay, but he's a homeless guy, and maybe not. And so, in fact, I met a couple of actors, and another one I'll mention a little bit later because he's since passed away. But this guy, I met him, and I started talking to him, and then he showed me some of his pictures and everything like that. And he was an actor in a movie called Bad News Bears. Now, a lot of people may not remember that movie, and it starred Walter Matthau, but he was actually one of the child actors in that movie. Then later on, he went on to ride in motorcycle races, and he was actually a champion. But he got caught up in a lot of issues. I think the crowds he was around, he started drinking and doing drugs and everything, and that changed him. And then he started losing races and so forth. And he ended up on the streets. And as I talked with him and finding more about his backstory, because I would go back and talk to him every once in a while, and then I would take pictures with him and so forth. And it turned out that his family is originally from Tennessee, and we are third cousins. So you never know.
It's a small world. Amazing.
It's a small world. And yeah, so again, it's a challenges that we go through. And by the way, that's just one of the stories. I think a lot of people, when they see a homeless person, they only see a homeless person. They may see that person as a loser, or, I don't want to talk to them. But here's the thing. You don't know who that person is. You don't know their story. That story could be you. You just may not know it. I remember even going farther back. I met another gentleman, and this is in downtown Los Angeles. And I had talked to him, and I was just out of the Marines, and I talked to him, and we started having a conversation. He's a homeless guy, and it turned out that he had been a partner in a law firm, and he had lost everything because of alcohol. He started drinking, and he was going through all the stress, and he lost it all. And again, that's a profession that's very, very negative. A lot of lawyers just don't like what they're doing.
Right.
You have to have thick skin in order to make it through that profession. But this guy, he was very charismatic, even when he was talking as a homeless guy. But because alcohol did him in, he lost his wife, his home, everything. He was kicked out of the law firm, and he ended up on the streets. And
yep.
And
I can relate to, Dr. Bob.
Yeah,
I can relate to. You know, things, I had a pretty good life. I had a lot of successes, but you know, the drinking and the drugs got in the way of being successful because I wasn't at my top optimum level. But the difference is, and that's what I'm trying to get the point across here to the viewers is that, you know, we can have these successes. We can try and figure out what we're supposed to do. We can fall, like you said earlier, Dr. Bob, you know, you fall down, you can crash, you can make things can happen, whatever it might be, circumstance.
correct.
You can get back up and you can keep on going, that there is actually light at the end of the tunnel. And yes, I pretty much well got everything back, although it's not about the material stuff anymore to me. Not about whether I got the car or the fancy clothes or any of that stuff, because, you know, you do lose it all when you go homeless pretty much. At that point, it's pretty bad. So you got yourself, but that's the start.
That's a start. And look at the difference that you're making now. This is something you wasn't doing years ago, correct?
That's, oh, yeah. I mean, I did not envision myself being on TV, having regular interviews, being able to meet people like yourself that are so dynamic, and people like Sophie and so many others that I've had on my show. Just super dynamic. And it's just, and that's another thing I kind of wanted to talk about too, is that intention. It all starts with that intention, right, Dr. Bob?
It does.
And then I wanted you to tell us, set intention.
Yep.
Stay focused. How, when you set that intention and you stay focused on it, that the law of attraction, which I'm a big believer in, starts to take place. Tell us about that.
Correct. Now, a lot of people are going to have a misunderstanding regarding the law of attraction. I know a lot of people have seen maybe the movie The Secret, and I have people that I know that were in it, like Dr. Joe Vitale and others, and they've even come out and said that it's missing some components. So it's not about just like imagining that I want all these things. I want the big house, I want the fancy cars, I want $1.2 million in a bank, or all these kind of things. It's not about that. And Stephen's right. So intention is a key component of the law of attraction. We tend to attract what we intend. Now, intention also has to have action with it, just like attraction has action based within it. And a lot of people don't realize, and again, I mentioned earlier, part of the transformation, action is a big part of transformation. You set the intention, and you think about, like, what is it that I intend to accomplish or attain what I want, including the mission. And in our brain, we have the reticular activating system. And that's a big part of that, because as we see, as we see, so does our brain see. And we do this all the time on an unknowing spectrum. So let me explain that.
Explain.
Yeah, we buy a new car. So let's say, because you mentioned you want a new car, but let's say you buy a new car, and I'm just going to say a Jaguar because I have one. So let's say you buy a brand new Jaguar, and you may not have seen this Jaguar anywhere else. So you went out, you acquired a Jaguar, and you see it and you say, oh, it's cool, and you drive around a little while. Then what typically happens? You start seeing Jaguars everywhere.
They're everywhere now. Yeah.
Everywhere. You say, oh my gosh, I'm not unique anymore. Everybody has a Jaguar. You see it everywhere. You're driving by and boom, boom, boom. And so our brain works that way. When we have something that, again, you're focused on, you set the intention, and you start seeing that. It starts pulling towards you. You start seeing those doors open up that you didn't see before, because that's what you're focused on. And by the way, you don't ever want to focus on something that you don't want. You focus on what you want. So and by the way, our subconscious mind works this way. We tend to see in images. So when I tell you, Stephen, don't think of a pink elephant. Don't think of a pink elephant. What are you thinking about?
The pink elephant.
The pink elephant, yes.
Absolutely.
So now, when you focus on what you don't want, guess where your attention goes to? The pink elephant.
Lack.
The pink elephant.
Right?
Yeah.
It's lack.
Yes.
And so if I can for just a minute too, is to back up about The Secret. By the way, Dick Vitale happens to live right here in Sarasota. Huge philanthropist when it comes to cancer and supporting people and inspiration and kids. Oh my, he's a great guy, super guy. Love to have Dick Vitale come on the show. As a matter of fact, that is one of my goals, to have a person like him come on. But the law of attraction, The Secret, because I was so heavily into that when it came out in 07, the original one.
The original one, yep.
But it did focus on money. You know, it did focus on those material things, but it's just so much bigger. And as a matter of fact, that's what caused all their problem, was that focus on money that caused a breakup, and then they had to come out with a second run. But at least that's the way I see it. Okay, that's what I heard. It was about the money.
Yeah.
But so we can achieve anything we want by setting this attention, staying focused on it, and being careful about the things that we're thinking, because if we say the wrong thing, even like I want more money, or I want that Jaguar, but the feeling is that like maybe I don't deserve it, or I don't have enough money, and these things are going on in your brain. What you're really saying is you're not going to get that Jaguar or that whatever, or because it's focused on the lack.
Correct. Yeah, and even backing up even further, when I talked about, and when you asked me about purpose,
yeah,
if you can align what you want with your purpose, and also your core values, whatever that is, it's going to be much easier for you to go after it, including the financial part. But it has to be really lined up, and it's not really focused on trying to acquire a lot of money, but it's acquiring or going after those things that will bring it in. And I tell people, like, financial gains is fine if you have a greater purpose for that. So I use that as a measuring stick. And my friend Randy Gage once said that, he says that as a speaker, if you're not making at least $1 million a year, you're not having a great enough impact. So I'm not saying financial gains is the end all. What I'm saying is, what is the impact that you want to have with your mission and your purpose and that intention? If you have an intention of of going after your greater goods, because again, the money will allow you to be able to expand. For example, with your show, Stephen, if you had $1 million coming in a year, what can you do with your show? How many people can you even impact at a greater level?
Right.
Yeah.
That's the truth. And I don't focus on the money. We need to have the money, but the more and I've said this many times, the more money I have, the more money I'll be able to reach other people. That is the goal. That is the purpose. And so, because I think of having those honorable, what I consider to be honorable goals, it comes without having to have focused on that fact, because you're going to do those things. Now, I also wanted you to maybe share with the viewers about the concept and your opinion as to whether you think people's purpose or people's mission come from their painful experiences that they've gone through, and then they've survived that and come out stronger as a result, because you have a choice: get stronger or give up, and we don't want that. We don't want people to get despondent, and then that leads to suicide. And that's not a good answer in my book, even though I thought that that's what an answer was. I had to learn wrong. That's not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.